Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to graph a function using transformations. So let's just jump right into it. So I'm going to be showing you how to graph an exponential function. So the first step you want to take when graphing any function using transformations is to identify the starting function or your base function. So I'm going to write g of x equals e to the x. Our starting function, that's what you're going to start with, and we're going to do the transformations on that. So then you want to next identify some key points. So I just choose negative 1, 0, and 1 because they're easy and small to deal with. This is what the book usually chooses. And then, of course, you have a vertical asymptote at y equals 0. So now let's plug these into our function. So let's evaluate g of negative 1. That would be e to the negative 1, which is 1 over e. And we'll look at the approximate value here in a minute. And then e to the 0. G of 0 would be e to the 0, which is 1. G of 1 would be e to the first, which is just e. And then I'm going to go ahead and just rewrite negative e to the x minus 2 plus 3 right here. And I'll write a little chart for that as well. And then right here, this is important, you want to write the arithmetic that you're going to do that will allow you to do the transformation. So two things are going to be changing, your x and your y's. So let's look at the x's. From this x, from our starting function to here, what happened? Well, it says we subtract 2, but you actually do the opposite when you're working with the x value. You actually add 2. So you do the opposite arithmetic when you're dealing with the x value. And that is because here, these values, these x values that we used in our starting function, they worked very nice, right? Pretty easy to deal with. So we're wanting to do the same thing here. So for example, in order for us to, here we evaluated the g at 0. So we ended up getting right e to the 0, right? That's how we have. So we want the same thing here. We want e to the 0. So we want this to be 0. And if that's the case, we have to add 2 to both sides, right? We want just as a little side work, a little scratch work over here. We want this to be 0. So you would add 2 to both sides, right? And that's where that opposite operation idea comes from, because you're actually solving for x. But you just remember, you just do the opposite. So like, since we added 2, you'll see here in a minute that we will be able to evaluate this function. It'll be e of 0. So let's just continue. Anyways, do the opposite to your x's. Then to the y's, let's look at what happened. From here to here, we multiply by negative 1 and then add a 3. So multiply by negative 1, add 3. So again, step 1, identify your parent function. Step 2, identify some key points and key features like your horizontal asymptote, y equals 0. Step 3, write the arithmetic that's going to help you do your transformation. And then now we're going to do this arithmetic on these x and y values here. So to all our x values, we'll add 2. So negative 1 plus 2 is 1, 0 plus 2 is 2, 1 plus 2 is 3. So all the y values, we're going to multiply by negative 1, then add 3. 1 over e times negative 1 is negative 1 over e, plus 3 is negative 1 over e plus 3. And we can go ahead and do find the exact value on that. I'm sorry, the approximate value. So we have, let's see, we have negative, and then we're going to have e to the first, and we're actually going to take the inverse of that because it's 1 over that, and then we're going to add 3. So it's about 2.6. About 2.6. Negative 1 over e plus 3. Okay, then 1 times -1 is -1 plus 3 is 2. And e times -1 is negative e plus 3 is negative e plus 3, which is approximately, let's see, we're going to have a negative and then e, oops, negative e plus a 3. It's about 0.28. So 0.28. Okay, now we're also going to do that to this y value, to our asymptote. So you have y equals, our new horizontal asymptote will be 0 times -1 is 0, plus 3 is 3. Okay, so let's put all this down. Graph here. I like to write my asymptote first, so y equals 3, 1, 2, 3. So we have this here. And then our points, 1, 2.6, so 1, and then 2.6 right about here. 2, 2, so 2, 2 right about here, and then 3.28 somewhere here. And then we're just gonna follow the asymptote. We're not crossing or touching. So that's it. So we know that the exponential function has this kind of shape, and we are not crossing any asymptotes, right? You approach it, get close to it. So that is the graph of this function. That's the transformation. So here, to go and back and look at the original, and we can start from the original. I just used this, but you can start from the original and talk it out. But the actual transformation, I like to use my arithmetic because it gives me points to follow. I'm following certain points closely, and so I can put those points here. I don't like to just say, okay, let's go up and write down, and reflect. I like to follow points closely and have those to write down. But we can talk it out so you can get an idea. So let's look at the starting function. So your y equals 0 is where our asymptote starts. And then we have -1 and 1 over e. Now 1 over e, let's see, we have e, and then, oops, and then we're going to take the inverse. So about 0.367. And then e. So if we just type in e, 2.72. Okay, so I'll put that down. So -1, and then 0.36, so somewhere here, 0, 1, and then 1, 2.72, and so we're just going to do this. Okay, so if you look at this graph, this is where you start from. And it says, well, we shift it right to, so this graph is going to move 2 units to the right. Okay, and then we're going to do a reflection about the x-axis, right? Because all our y's became negative. So we're taking the graph and we're reflecting it about the x. So, and you can see that here. It's supposed to now, like, this will be up here and this will be like down here. And that's what happened. So you can see that reflection. And then you shifted everything up 3. So you flip it and then everything goes up 3. And you can see that clearly from the horizontal, how it went from here. It was right here. And then it all went 3 to here. Okay. So, yeah, that is how you graph any function using transformations. So again, really quick, the first step you want to take is to identify your base function. Step 2, identify some key points. Step 3, do the arithmetic to allow you to do your transformations. Step 4, put all those, do the arithmetic to your points from your parent function. You get these points and then put all that on the graph for step 4. So again, for the x's, the arithmetic is the opposite. So for example, I said, these are nice numbers, so we want to kind of keep that. We want to keep that. So like e to the 0 be 1, right? If we look at this, that was pretty easy. So we want the same thing to happen here. We want to evaluate e at 0, right? We do e of 0. So in order for that to happen, this has to be 0. This is my scratch word. This is what I was showing you why it's the opposite, why you add 2, right? We added 2 so that this could be 0. So like if we were to just plug 2 into here, well, 2 minus 2 is 0. So there you go. It makes it easy again. And same, it works on everything, right? That's why we add 2 to all of these. Because we want to keep evaluating this at -1 and 1. So if I were to plug in 1, well, 1 minus 2 is -1. If I want to evaluate at 1, 3 minus 2 is, that's a 1, so even the first, right? So again, just remember that whatever you do to the x, it's the opposite. And then to the y, it's just as is. The arithmetic you're doing to the y from here to here is just as you see it. So you multiply by -1 and add 3. And that's because once you evaluate a function at a certain, you plug in a number, then you just keep on with the arithmetic. You multiply by -1 first and then add 3. But yeah, so x is opposite, y arithmetic just as you see it. And then put everything down, and that's it. And you can see, you can either do this before and see how, when you shift it right to, you flip it, you can see the flip, and then go up. You can see how it went up. And you can see the shift right too. You can see all the transformations that you did. And that's it. That's how you do all of them. Just depending on what transformation you had. Okay, guys. Well, that is all I have for now. I hope that helped. And I will talk to you on the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye.